I hope you're doing well today. I want to talk to you about Jezebel. We often say Jezebel, or the Jezebel spirit, I should say, which is true, but for the purposes of this video, I want to refer to it as the Jezebel demon. Now, I know that may make you cringe just a little bit, but the truth is the truth. So, now because most people have been in relationships, I'm going to use uh, the woman man relationship today in this video to talk about the anatomy of the Jezebel based on a lot of different note taking and being a part of various deliverance situations and just essentially learning from this according to the word of the Bible. So the Jezebel spirit, it's clear that it's a very prevalent type of demon in many ways. And it's just not in the man woman relationship. Actually, the Jezebel demon operates in many different types of relationships beyond just the romantic man woman relationship. But again, as I said before, I want to utilize the man woman relationship because it's very common and we all can sort of relate to that. So, having served in church leadership, I have witnessed some things in the church and also just doing the things God has called me to do. In addition to many other responsibilities, I have also been part of deliverances with others. And if you know anything about deliverance, if you're in the deliverance ministry or you're supporting anyone, you know taking notes is vital as it provides wisdom and guidance for future encounters when you are having deliverance. And it also serves as a way for the person to sort of understand what was happening while they were being delivered, because you have a demon and the individual obviously operating in their bodies at the same time. So one cannot, both the individual and the demon cannot be speaking at the exact same time. So it's one or the other. So taking those notes essentially helps the individual to sort of hear about what was encountering when they are not present during the deliverance, but the actual demon has surfaced his head. So note taking is very common. It's very good to do, and again, it serves to assist in any future type of situations. Now, also when a person has gone through deliverance of any type of demon, actually, it's just not getting them delivered at that moment, which is vital, which is the most important part. Again, I've said this before, but deliverance cannot occur unless the individual is in agreement with that and they renounce that and no longer give that demon permission. Okay, but in also um, the demon uh, has been able to get inside of the person some type of way. So um, even after you help the individual, you get them set free, they still need to be able to be walked through the healing process. So we have some amazing sisters and brothers out there that are operating in the deliverance ministries, and they are there to do that. And sometimes, they come in, local pastors or local congregations, they invite the deliverance ministers and servants or whomever else to come to the church, because each of us have a particular role we do in the body of Christ. So if a local pastor is not strong in deliverance or does not believe that that is a gift that she or he are operating in, they oftentimes will invite someone in to help the body of Christ, because again, this is the flock that God has entrusted to them. And that is just one way. There's many different ways. We have great deliverance ministers. They travel abroad, travel in stateside, and they set up shop, and they just start helping to set people free. We have some that are just out in the streets doing their thing. They are powered. They have a very audacious attitude. They're very bold in their approach. And God bless them for doing that, because people really do want to be set free. So, um, but I also wanted to talk about that because I have been a part of this, uh, some situations with the deliverance and the note taking as a whole. There are some things that I have noticed, and others have noticed when it comes to deliverance. And again, not everything we notice, but in that note taking and being a part, we've sort of noticed a framework of when we spot the Jezebel demon. And oftentimes there's many, 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 many demons that have many different names. But oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, uh, when an individual may have more than one demon that does not upfront recognize or state that it's the Jezebel demon. If it's something else, Jezebel is typically coupled with another type of demon. And the Jezebel demon can be a little bit more quiet, and you have to kind of push and prowl a little bit sometimes because it tends to hide a little bit. Now, that doesn't always occur, but it is not unusual for that to actually occur, particularly with the Jezebel demon. Again, no demon is good. No demon, no person possessed, struggling, needing to be set free. None of this is good at all, not whatsoever. But again, there are some common things that I have noticed in other people, and we were just talking about this a couple of months ago, and I just felt led to put a video together, and I hope that this will be a blessing to you. And what I'm sort of about to start to get into as quick as I possibly can is that this video is not to say that. Uh, your relationships, or if you're single parents, or if you're still single, you're dating, and every person you dated, every whatever, that they had an actual Jezebel demon. That is not the intent of this video. But there are some common denominators, and if you can relate to something, or you believe it has happened, or you believe that you are still suffering under this demonic demon called Jezebel, you need help, you need deliverance, okay? And as always, all you got to do is say, God, I listened to this video, what Tracy spoke about. Make this crystal clear to me if this Jezebel demon is still operating in my life, or it is operating through someone else as a result of the relationships I have been in the past, or possibly I am currently in already. So I want to just give you a quick scriptural reference about Jezebel and her husband, King Ahab, which is found in 1 Kings 21. I would encourage you to read the entire thing at your leisure, but I'll just quickly kind of go through it. I'm giving you the highlights. I'm not getting into every little specific detail, but in case you haven't heard about Jezebel, or you may not understand her story, or you haven't read about it in quite some time. So Jezebel was the queen, and she was a vile and wicked woman whose main goal was to stop the worship of God and demand the worship of false god Baal as the chief god. And I mean, when I say God, I mean a little g, in Israel, instead of our God, Yahweh, who is and will always be the big G. Okay. Of course, Jezebel failed in that goal of hers, but nonetheless, this is how the story goes that is found in the Bible. So there was a man named Naboth who lived in a vineyard near King Ahab. Now, King Ahab, obviously, Jezebel was a queen. King Ahab was her husband. All right. So there was a man that named Naboth who had a vineyard near the palace where Jezebel and King Ahab lived. Due to the proximity of the vineyard to the palace, the king wanted this vineyard because he wanted to have a garden with herbs. So the king talked with Naboth and basically said, I'm paraphrasing here, hey, I want your vineyard. I will pay you for it. Even give you an even better vineyard. Okay. That's but the one that's close to the palace, he wanted. Naboth basically, he said, no, no thanks, no thanks, King Ahab, because God had given the vineyard close to the palace to him as an inheritance. Okay. So King Ahab, he got mad. He went home or went back to the palace. I guess you could say he had somewhat like a temper tantrum. He went, laid down on his bed, turned his face, and refused to eat. So now enters his wife, Queen Jezebel, or Jezebel, as we would call her. Now, when she enters, she asks her husband, the king, a question. Basically, is why are you sad? And matter of fact, the first moments of their conversation, Jezebel is asking her husband, the king, questions. So she asks, why are you so sad? The king basically told her about Naboth, refused to give him the vineyard. Then Jezebel asked another question. And she basically was like, do you not govern the kingdom of Israel? Or are basically what she's saying, aren't you the king of Israel? Aren't you the king of Israel? And she didn't give him, he didn't respond to her, but instead she went on to say, basically, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You go ahead and eat. You be merry, and I'm going to get this vineyard from Naboth. Don't you worry about it. So next, she began to write letters to Naboth, pretending that she was actually her king, the king, her husband. And she would write these letters, and she would sign it with the king's seal. She even wrote letters to nobles and various elders that lived in a community or in the city where Naboth lived. And in addition to doing that, because again, this is a progression that she's on a mission to accomplish here. So she went to Naboth. She's then began writing letters to the elders and the nobles, and then she sends two false witnesses to Naboth who worshiped her false god Baal, with the ultimate intent to put pressure on Naboth. Okay, she wanted to put pressure on Naboth. Well, the pressure tactic worked. Naboth ended up, long story short, he suffered a terrible injustice. And we all know what it feels like when there are injustices upon us, or that we know someone who suffered an injustice. But Naboth unfortunately suffered an injustice at the hands of Jezebel. And Naboth was ultimately stoned to death, all because Jezebel manipulated and controlled the situation, which started out with her asking just a few questions, just a few questions, and she ended up manipulating and controlling the situation. Okay, in today's life, okay, Jesus followers and even unbelievers, honestly, even unbelievers deal with the Jezebel demon. I would say that depending on what type of demon is cast out of a person, the Jezebel may very well be hiding inside the person as well, as I mentioned earlier. Certain demons seem to go hand in hand with the Jezebel demon. They just seem to go hand in hand. The Jezebel demon, let me just make sure I'm clear on that. This is not like, I know it's a female sounding name and she was Queen Jezebel, but the Jezebel demon, if you're fast forwarding to where we live today, that could be a male or a female. Okay. Jezebel's name is synonymous with seduction and witchcraft and injustice, immorality, wickedness. I mean, you name it. All right. Um, Now, as I mentioned earlier, we kind of noticed a pattern. We have taken part in certain things, deliverances, and other matters. Okay, and we through that note taking and sharing and just being diligent, taking copious notes. We began to understand, like, hey, you know what? There's some common denominators here, right? So again, as I mentioned earlier, I want to just sort of quickly do an anatomy based on the man-woman relationship as it relates to Jezebel. Okay. Um, when you start to learn the story of how people get entangled with the Jezebel demon, it is unbelievable. But again, there's a few common threads in there that we notice. Now, once I start to get into that in just a second, you're gonna say, as I start to go through this, you're gonna say, Tracy, you know what? I know somebody that's like that exactly. Which is why we're saying that Jezebel, that demon, is very prevalent in today's society. And most people just choke it up as, I know someone with that. I know someone with this. Well, guess what? The Jezebel demon is very prevalent, operating at a high capacity like other demons. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through this as quick as I possibly can. Now, phase one, what typically happens is Satan sends the Jezebel demon to those who have open doors because of sexual lust, who like to be noticed. These individuals like to be noticed because right now I'm giving you the framework of when Satan sends a Jezebel demon. This is the type of person and their personality, the way they think. Here's some characteristics of what they do. It's sexual lust, of course, but these people, what we've learned when we sit down and talk and we learn more about what happened in this person's life, how did they get to this place? These people also, they like to be noticed. They like to be respected. Okay. And oftentimes they pretend like, you know what? It's okay. I don't really care about respect. But underneath, they crave the respect of others. These people consider themselves to be, like that bad boy image, that bad girl image, and they oftentimes aim for things outside of their league for all the wrong reasons, for all the wrong reasons. And yes, sometimes it's also the really nice and sweet woman or man who everyone thinks so highly of, right? Who everyone thinks so highly of. So it can actually go both ways, from the bad boy, bad girl to the nice and sweet woman and man as well. So it can go both ways. So now, when you get into the relationship with a person who has a Jezebel demon that Satan has sent based on your personality, because you not only you struggle with sexual lust a lot, but you have that personality where you like to be noticed, you want to be respected, okay, you like that certain image, right? So that's why, because Jezebel, she lures you in to Satan's pit, and it starts very early. And oftentimes, what we notice that Jezebel spirit, when you're operating with someone, you're in a relationship with that Jezebel demon that's operating through that person, they like to have a lot of sex. And again, not talking about, let me be clear, I'm not talking about, a godly husband and wife relationship in which they're having sex, because sex is a good thing in the confounds of a godly relationship between a man and a wife. But for the purpose of this Jezebel spirit in a relationship where there's just two people who are not married, okay, the Jezebel demon oftentimes very much lure you in because there's a lot of sex involved. They love to have sex. They like to have sex all the time. And because you think you've struck a pot of gold, you think you've struck a pot of gold, you think this is just amazing. It's like, I met this girl or I met this dude, and he is like, it's all the time. It's all the time. And you know what? Again, I'm not saying every person is a Jezebel demon, but here, this is another characteristic. They like to have sex a lot. And because, again, you have that open door of that sexual lust, it's easy for Satan to come in, because he's targeted you, and he sent this Jezebel demon your way. And having a lot of sex with you is one of the major ways in which they lure you in. And that is their, again, this demon is being disguised as a man or a woman. So what I mean is that there's a human being, there's a human woman or a human man who has a Jezebel demon inside of them. Okay, so when you're looking at them, you think you're just looking at the regular person, and yes, in the physical world they are, but they possess a Jezebel demon inside of them, and they are lure you in with having a lot of sex, a lot of sex, and because you have that, you think it's just amazing, and you struck a pot of gold. Okay, now in the beginning, all this sex tends to be good at first, but then you begin to notice that Jezebel, man or woman, is not really who you think they are. And now you begin to see this manipulating you, because they're oftentimes stubborn as a result of their controlling behavior. So let me repeat that again. This Jezebel demon begins to manipulate you, okay? And because it's very stubborn, it's a stubborn demon. And as a result of that, there's a lot of controlling behavior that comes with that. Now, moving on, your family and friends, they're looking at you like, what is it with this girl? What is it with this guy? Like, I mean, besides the looks, what are they doing for you? Because again, we're puzzled by that. So your family and friends are oftentimes puzzled as to why would you be in a relationship with this person who has nothing to offer you but sex, because everyone can see you are not good for them and they are not good for you. Okay, but you know what, you keep going back, because again, it's all about the sex. Okay, because you're too ashamed to say that, it's a lot of sex, and I don't know, I don't know how to break free, right? So you keep going back because it's that luring and that temptation, and then that shame comes in, that guilt, because you are this person, this nice a woman or man, and you got a lot of things going for yourself, and this person over here has nothing going for themselves, but they're giving you a lot of sex. Okay, all right. So now you kind of get into, from, you got a lot of sex, and then it's the manipulating and controlling you. And now what the next thing the Jezebel starts to do is that this Jezebel man or woman starts to slowly control your mind, the way you think, because you don't recognize it, but you've already started making bad decisions. Okay, but but the sex is the lure. You already started making the bad decisions, you just haven't figured that out yet. Okay. So phase three. So one day you wake up and you say enough, and you say, I don't want to be with this Jezebel man or woman, whatever their name may be, anymore. I don't want to be with you anymore. But hold up. Now let me see. Let me tell you something. This Jezebel demon is not going to let you go easy because they know how to lure you through sex, and they know how to seduce you. They know what you like. They do the things that are just kind of sort of out of this world. And again, let me repeat, I'm not talking about in the confines of a godly husband and wife relationship. That's not what I'm saying. Because God created sex, but he created in the confines of a godly husband and wife relationship. Okay? So again, alluring, because you're saying I want to break free. They're not going to let you break free. Now you're thinking, because again, things are much more spiritual than they are physical. So even though you may put all these boundaries in place in the physical world, see, in the spiritual world, so you're so busy putting the boundaries in place because you don't want nothing else to do with them anymore, right? You're so busy putting the boundaries in place from the in the physical world that you don't understand that you have been lured and trapped in the spiritual world. And if you don't understand that, this is why you continue to be bound, and you don't understand why you can't be set free, and you don't understand why you're having this problem with the way you think. You don't understand, why do I keep going back? Because you've addressed the physical world with your boundaries, but you haven't addressed the spiritual world. And of course, you continue to fall in bed with them once again. Because you know what? You can't even think straight. Because you all the sexual luring, this Jezebel is they're just this Jezebel demon has you bound and entangled in Satan's pit that I mentioned earlier when I got started. But because you've announced not only in the physical world but in the spiritual world that I don't want nothing to do with this Jezebel person. I'm done with this. I can't deal with this now. Satan has sent this Jezebel demon to you, and he has a demonic plan. And unless you figure out that this happening in your life, he is going to execute that plan. And part of the execution of that plan is to keep you bound and trapped and entangled. So guess what? The Jezebel kicks it up a notch. And now phase four kicks in of trapping you. And if you are a Jezebel man, if you're dealing with a Jezebel man, guess what's going to happen? Because you know you're constantly still, they're lowering you back in the bed. You're having more sex. You're having more sex. You're having more sex. Now they kick it up a notch. Now that Jezebel man, he's now going to be definitely focused on planting his demonic seed in your womb to get you pregnant. Or if you dealing with a Jezebel woman, if you're dealing with a Jezebel woman, she's going to be looking for ways to encourage you to get her pregnant. And as I would say, her demonic womb pregnant. Okay? Because this is about trapping you, keeping you ensnared, keeping you trapped. Not just for the time you're in this little relationship with them, but they want to consume your life for the rest of your life. See, this is all of this. Again, like I mentioned, is feeding into Satan's original plan when he sent the Jezebel man or woman to you based on the way you are, based on your personality. You know, that sexual lust, you got that open door, right? You like to be noticed. You like the bad woman, the bad chick, the bad dude, or you like Mr. Super Nice guy, Mr. Super Nice woman, and you're just like, people think so highly of you. It's to tear you down, to keep you entrapped and ensnared, okay? Now, because you have been constantly lured by sex, a pregnancy now has occurred, and the demonic entrapment is set in stone now. It's set in stone. Now, I know what you're thinking. Now, Tracy, I kind of, we all kind of heard this, this is not really anything new. As I mentioned to you before, exactly. Now you kind of understand the anatomy of how this happens and why you see it among your family and why you see it among your friends, because it is very prevalent. All right. So now the pregnancy is set in stone. Now, what we've also noticed, after hearing people's stories and they're, helping to walk them through the healing process once they've been delivered from the Jezebel demon, once this pregnancy happens, that man either gets you pregnant or that Jezebel woman, she's now pregnant with your baby. The sex oftentimes stops unexpectedly. And the victim, who is you, who's been messing with this person, this Jezebel, now it's all about discarding you. discarding you, because now they have the entrapment of what they need from you, and they can now go off and do other things, because guess what? They now know they have a tie to you. They have a tie to you. So that's why it's easy for them to discard you without even notice. It just switches up on you. It's like a switch up. You're just like, what is happening? What is happening? Okay. Now they're discarding you. It's not permanent, like I said. Like, they have a plan. Satan has a plan. Discarding is not a permanent thing, but they know that they've already trapped you in the mind. They have you confused. You're making bad decisions, right? And now they're going to discard you. Okay, that's going to further your mental breakdown. That's going to further your mental breakdown, because at this point you have noticed that, and you're coming to terms with the fact that I have made a bad choice here. They have this mind control over you, because guess what? They know ultimately you can't get away from them because a pregnancy has occurred. Now, the Jezebel demon is often a cold-hearted, very stubborn, and almost always have a pattern of having children, which all the children's fathers and mothers are with different people. And now you are the latest new mom or new dad added to the list with the other fathers and mothers who are also victims. Okay? Each child has a different father. Now, I just want to be sensitive here. I'm not trying to say, again, if you have, children by different men or women, that you are possessed by the demon spirit, or that's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you about the anatomy based on what we have learned, and based on how we've walked people through the process, because in walking them through the process, we've heard their story. We've heard their life story. We see their pain. You can almost help, because you need to help them to understand where they went wrong, because they want to know, how did this happen to me? How did this demon get in me? Why did this happen to me? So you have to be able to help walk them through the process, okay? And that takes a little time, and it takes beyond the deliverance service that actually occurs, whether it's at your local church or someplace else, right? Because again, the local body or the local believers or whatever ever where the person live is will be there to help walk the person through that. So it's astonishing to kind of see the relationships, because I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I too, like, I know a lot of people that I'm thinking, oh my goodness, right? I don't live that lifestyle anymore, and I haven't lived like that for umpteen years. But the point is, it's like, oh my goodness, this Jezebel demon has been around a very long time, obviously, but it has ran rampant in my family. It has ran rampant in my friends, my close circle. And matter of fact, for some of you, you may even be saying, this is happening right now as I speak, as I'm listening to this video. I know someone that is impacted by this, or perhaps you yourself are impacted by this. Okay. So again, most of these mothers and fathers who are victims, they want to flee from the Jezebel person, because they are unable to cope with the demands of the Jezebel demon. They're unable to cope with the demands. Okay, because now that this Jezebel demon has entrapped you, there's a pregnancy, and then you're sitting there saying, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. And now you don't even recognize the person that lured you in, giving you sex every single moment, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. Then it stops. They discard you. Now you have mental issues. You can't think straight. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. That's all a part of the plan. That's all a part of the plan that got ignited during phase one. That got ignited during phase one, because you had an open door. Now, if it's a Jezebel woman who's having the baby that has encouraged you, she through her demonic womb, guess what? She oftentimes do not connect with the baby. She oftentimes do not connect with the baby. And she have no problem, absolutely no problems of other people raising her baby, as long as she can still have her finger and her pulse. As long as she can have her finger and her pulse in the situation. See, that's the catch. Now, with a Jezebel man, oftentimes have multiple women pregnant at the same time. At the same time. At the same time. Now, what we also notice is that when these babies are born, their births are oftentimes very dramatic. Very dramatic. In other words, it's not a routine birth, but very dramatic. Let me just say this now. I'm getting ready to be a little graphic. I don't mean to be, so just give me a little grace here. But I just want to give you, just what I mean by being dramatic. Okay, birth meaning dramatic birth meaning that it's a little more bloody than normal births. You know, if anybody knows anything about the birthing process, we're all grown up men and women here. Okay, we know how this works. I'm not going to get into all that, but we notice a pattern when you sit down and you talk to the person and they say, when this happened to me, they'll talk something about what happened, about the hospital or when they were giving birth. Okay, that they notice, like, it's there's a lot more blood associated, like it's very dramatic. Okay, so but anyway, and the reason for this being a little bit more dramatic is because there's a war going on. See, there's a baby being birthed as a result of a demonic situation. Satan put that in motion during phase one, and you have been entrapped. You were lured. You were entrapped. You either were your womb was either fertilized by through a demonic seed of a Jezebel man, or you being the man, you fertilized a demonic seed in the with a Jezebel woman. So now this baby is going to be born. It's a very dramatic situation, and the reason why it is a little bit more, excuse me, dramatic. I'm not going to say the word again, but dramatic is because there's a war going on in the spiritual realm for the soul of this baby. There's a war going on in the spiritual realm for the soul of this baby. Okay. The Jezebel parent is often absent, and the other parent is often left to raise the child. When the Jezebel parent spends time with the child, they begin to train this child how to manipulate and control the other parent at a very young age. Because remember, they manipulated and control you through the process when phase one kicked off, phase two, phase three, phase four. So they're now going to instill this because, again, this is how the cycle continues. So the Jezebel parent begins to train the child that you now have with this person how to manipulate and control you. And they train them at a very young age. Again, you would be surprised at when we hear people and you help to really walk them through what appears to have happened. People are always surprised knowing and seeing how their own children have participated in the process. Okay, knowingly or unknowingly. As I said before, possession, according to the Bible, is not limited by age. Okay, so again, all of this has been a part of Satan's original plan to trap you. Not to trap you just because you was in that relationship 1 year ago, 2 years ago, whatever amount of years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. The point is to trap you for the rest of your life. Okay, not just trap you in terms of, I had a baby with this guy or had a baby with this girl, and then people, you get along, you try to make it work, you go your way, they go their way, but you're adults, you're grown up. It's a still you do your best to create a healthy relationship for the child that you both have together. Everybody's being a grown up, everybody's being respectful. See, I'm not talking about any of that. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, the other thing that we notice in hearing people and when they walk through their healing process is oftentimes that, this child that the Jezebel parent has taught how to manipulate and control you. They've taught how to control you, how to manipulate you. Okay. Oftentimes this child grows up with many problems. Everywhere they go, it's like problems follow them everywhere they go, whether they realize it or not. It's like there's always a problem. There's always something going on. There's always something. You're just thinking like, what is wrong? Like, it's almost like you feel like your own child is like a bad seed, or you feel like your own child is like a bad omen, because wherever they go, chaos ensues. Things go wrong. There's always a problem. Family members, everybody, somebody's always mad at them. They're mad at someone. It's always problems and concerns. Okay. All right. So, and again, you got to realize this all started back from that sexual lure, giving you that sex every single day, however often. Okay. And this has led to planting that demonic seed. And now the child is older. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Now the child is older, and this child has been and continues to be the recipient of this demonic fruit. So by the time these people come to us or someone else or who's into deliverance, they have been living unfortunately with these Jezebel demons around them and sometimes still in them for many, many years. Many, many years, not understanding what happened. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? Why is this happening to my child? Why? So you're questioning God, you're questioning God, you're questioning God, not putting it together that this happened back in phase one when Satan sent this Jezebel man or Jezebel woman to you to lure you into his pit. And he was able to do that because you had an open door. Okay. See, if you don't know by now, you cannot negotiate with a demon. You cannot negotiate with a demon. You can't say, okay, I dated her or I dated him. So, you go on your way, I'm going to go on my way. You can't negotiate with no demon. And if someone out there has been able to negotiate with a demon, hey, help me. I'm always open to learn something new. So help me to understand that. But from where I'm sitting and what I've learned, you can't negotiate with a demon. And a demon will stay with you, right there with you, and remain with you for many years. Okay? So the demon has no problem being with you 15 years, 25 years, 60 years, it doesn't matter. 1 year, 6 months, it doesn't matter. Trust me, demons have a lot of time on their hands. Let me repeat that. Trust me, demons have a lot of time on their hands, okay? Now, as I look to finish up, now what typically happens with the Jezebel man or woman you first dated, you had the baby with, and now you are left to the demonic fruit from all of that. See, guess what? That Jezebel person, that they never want to let you go, and they do not intend to let you go. They do not intend to let you go. And that is exactly how it is unless that person is delivered of that Jezebel spirit. As long as that Jezebel demon is living inside of that woman that is now the mother of your child. As long as that Jezebel spirit is living inside of the father of that man who's the father of your child, they are never going to let you go. I don't care what you do. They're never going to let you go. Now, some may say that this sounds a little narcissistic, and maybe it is, okay. But let's be real now. Not all mental problems are rooted in a mental framework. Sometimes mental problems are actually rooted in the demonic framework, okay, that disguises itself as mental illness, okay. Even when you don't want nothing to do with this Jezebel anymore, this Jezebel man or woman are always going to be hoovering in your life. They're going to still be showing up in your family functions. They're going to be trying to figure out a way how to get in, how to lure themselves back in. Okay, they're always going to be asking about you to other people. They're always going to be trying to think of ways to steal your identity. They're going to be trying to think of ways to steal your identity because you belong to them. And now you have a blood covenant through this through the pregnancy, hence the child that had the dramatic birth. So you got all this blood covenant going on there. Okay, this demonic blood covenant, I should say, this demonic blood covenant. This Jezebel person is going to use other people to embarrass you. They almost always, 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 always use witchcraft on you when you get into other romantic relationships to try to break you up with your boyfriend or with your girlfriend. Again, they're never going to let you go unless they are cast out. They like to cause chaos in your life, kind of like I was saying earlier about the child that you have with this person. Chaos tends to ensue, follows them. And they have a real problem when even your own family members try to get too close to you. If you have family members that you love that takes your attention away from you, from them and the child, from away from them and the child, oh, trust me, they're gonna have something to say about that, and they will go to extreme measures. And we've noticed how sickness has come upon people in people's families. And there's been even questionable situations that some of these people who've been delivered or been a part in the situation where they feel like, you know what, excuse me, Like, there was such and such who died, and I'm wondering if they died early because of this, right? So, because when you dealing with the Jezebel demon, like there is no there is no limit. Everything is, they have an open field to everything, and they want to destroy every single relationship, even your own family relationship. Anybody that's trying to get close to you, if you think you're getting into a romantic relationship, they're going to destroy it, and because you belong to them through the blood covenant. And they want to see you fail every single day. They want to see you fail every single day. Because you know why they want to see you fail every single day? Because they know that this failure will mess with your mind. Because again, they've been doing this mind control over you already for years upon years upon years. And now they have taught the child that you have together how to manipulate and control you. See, all of this is done through the mind. Okay. So, and they want you to keep feeling hopeless. They want you to be in despair. And they're going to continue to use that witchcraft on you as a means to do so, to keep you hopeless, to keep you in despair, to keep you not knowing how to think for yourself, to keep you not knowing how to make a good decision, because they want you to fail every single day. I guarantee you, if you look around the corner, just because they may not live with you, they are practicing witchcraft against you, or they're utilizing, and they're around somewhere monitoring and tracking your every single movement, and you might be surprised. And you know what? At this moment, I just feel led to say, guess what? If you feel you've been in this situation, or you're currently in this situation, I would caution you. You better watch who you eat from. You better watch who you eat from. Some of you may need to change the locks on your doors because your keys have been duplicated. And you may very well, when you're going out of town, you may very well have people coming in your home. I'm not trying to place fear in you, nor am I trying to say that you need to go accuse people. I'm just trying to tell you, use wisdom, pray, and ask the Lord about that. Some of you need to change your locks because your keys have been duplicated. Because see, the Jezebel looks for excuses to come wherever you are. And if you have a child together, that's even more so, because now they got a right to come on your property. They got a right to come to your front door. They got a right. And if your child has a key, you better watch it. You better check it. Okay. Never leave your phone around the Jezebel, because we got to talk about this, because we're in the modern day of the iPhone and the Androids and all that other stuff. You better watch. You don't ever want to leave your phone around a Jezebel or anyone closely associated with the Jezebel. Okay, because they will take information off your phone. They'll take your photos. They'll screenshot stuff. If you're in group chats with these people, whatever you got to be, you may want to consider deleting that group chat, getting yourself out of that. You may need to control that a little bit more. I don't know who I'm talking to out there. I don't know who I'm talking to out there. In some cases, you may even want to consider changing your phone number and locking that down a little bit more. Because again, until that Jezebel demon is cast out of that person who's the Jezebel in your life, they're never going to let you go. They're going to find ways to, in their mind, you have a blood covenant with them. Now, some of this you may feel like it's a little bit far fetched, but like I said, I felt led to say it. So, for who it's worth, for who it's for, take heed, pray about it, okay? And the Lord will seek and guide you. You ask the Lord. You ask him to reveal to you if people have your keys and that are duplicated or possibly coming in your home, that if photos and things are and information being taken off of your phone, or if people are utilizing group chats, or you may want to ask, is this person constantly asking about me to other people? All right, you may ask the Lord, pray about it. Trust me, he will respond to you. He will respond to you. You can get the answers as to why your life has been in such chaos. Why you just like, I don't even understand it. I am doing right. I'm living right. I help people. You feel and believe you're doing everything. You're checking all the right boxes, yet you cannot get ahead. I would caution you to turn around, check, examine your life, because you very well may have a Jezebel demon. Matter of fact, any type of demon, but because I'm talking about a Jezebel demon for this video, you may very well have a Jezebel demon still operating in your life. Now, let me tell you something. As I said, never be a part of anything associated with this Jezebel man or woman, even if this thing seems harmless. Trust me, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot negotiate with a demon. Now, all the sex, all the sex that this Jezebel demon lured you into years ago. You- For some of you out there, for some of you, not all of you, but some of you out there, you got so much sex years ago, you are still paying for this every single day, even in 2024. And for some of you, even at the time of listening to this video. Now, this was and is a high cost to pay. Okay. Now, ultimately, Satan's plan was accomplished because you are now tracked. You are now monitored by the Jezebel demon. Uh, Now you both share a blood covenant. You're dealing with a child that you're sharing with this Jezebel. And again, not talking about those relationships where mom and dad aren't together, but you have a healthy relationship. You're coming together to do right by your child. You're doing a great job. Each person is financially responsible. Dad is doing his part responsibly, financially. Mom is doing her part. See, with Jezebel, it's one-sided. If this is applying to you, it's one-sided. Because again, the ultimate goal was just to get you trapped and lured, to keep your mind confused, to keep you making bad decisions in your family, in your relationships, because you belong to them, because you have a blood covenant. And until that blood covenant is broken, you are bound. You are bound with this person. You are bound with this person. So again, I'm not trying to accuse single parents out here or doing anything if you're not married. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that just because you may have kids by different dads that this applies to you. It's not what I'm saying. Okay? But I think you understand exactly what I am saying. Okay? So, like I mentioned earlier when I got started, you may be saying, Tracy, I know someone like this. I know this. Yes, exactly. This is exactly what I'm saying. Jezebel demon is very prevalent. It's very prevalent. And you may not have connected the fact that this particular situation that happened was as a result of a Jezebel demon operating through that man that lured you in with the sex. That's operating through that Jezebel woman that lured you in with the sex. Exactly. That is exactly my point. That is exactly my point. And this is fairly common in deliverances when you're dealing with the Jezebel spirit, and when you begin to sit down, get to know these people and their families and their situation, and in cases where there are children, and to see, yes, the children, the way that they're even born, they seem to have a lot of problems, or they're always causing a lot of problems, or they are like, you feel like, what's wrong with my kid? Like, you're trying to do everything you can to try to help, to do this, not recognizing that, guess what? That child has been born as a result of a demonic blood covenant. So you cannot make sense of that without deliverance. So now, as I conclude, I'm wondering if you want to know what happened to Jezebel in the end. Possibly, sorta. Okay. But you know what? I'm glad you asked. I will be happy to tell you. So the Bible tells us that within the story of Jezebel, God declared that Jezebel would be eaten by dogs. She would be killed and she'll be eaten by dogs. And guess what? She was. Even her husband, the king, when he was killed in battle. Even dogs licked his blood that was coming down from the chariot. Matter of fact, because of how Jezebel treated others, particularly beheading prophets, her entire household suffered. Her entire household suffered as a result of her shedding the innocent blood of the man Naaman, because she wanted to get that vineyard for her husband the king, which ignited a wicked thirst within her. And this even scared God's prophet Elijah. I didn't get a lot into that. Most people that know the story of Jezebel understand, the prophet Elijah. I didn't really touch base on that a whole lot on purpose. Okay. Now, I would encourage you, or oh no, I'm sorry, I would challenge you to get rid of the Jezebels in your life. Until you do, your life will be plagued with chaos. and you will ultimately end up lonely and discouraged. Jezebel must be confronted. Let me repeat, Jezebel must be confronted. You cannot sit there and think, if I don't deal with it, if I don't say anything to him, if I don't say anything to her, they'll get the message. That don't happen, because in their eyes, this is a demonic blood covenant and they own you. You have to confront the Jezebel demon. You have to confront it. You cannot be paralyzed with fear. Your relationships will never work out until this Jezebel demon is confronted. Jezebel must be confronted, or this demon will continue to devour everything and everyone in your life. Every time you try to accomplish something, every time you think you get 3 steps forward, the Jezebel demon is going to yank you back 2 more steps. Yank you back 2 more steps. All right. I appreciate everyone listening, whoever listened and stayed at the end of this. God loves you. I am praying for you. I am praying for you. Okay? I'm praying for you. God loves you. I love you. We believe in you. Until we meet